Right now, somewhere in your home, moisture is winning. It is in the walls of your basement. It is in your closet where that musty smell never fully goes away. It is in your bathroom, your garage, your storage room. And most people respond to this by either buying a $60 electric dehumidifier that runs up their electricity bill every month, or they buy those small disposable moisture absorber boxes at the store for $5 a pop that last maybe 30 days and then get thrown in the trash. What nobody tells you is that there is a $4 setup that pulls moisture out of the air with no electricity, no moving parts, and no ongoing cost. People used this method for generations before we decided to plug everything into a wall. Today we bring it back. The principle behind this setup is called desiccation. A desiccant is any substance that naturally attracts and holds water molecules from the surrounding air. You have encountered desiccants your entire life without thinking about them. Those little silica gel packets that come inside shoe boxes, electronics packaging, vitamin bottles, and beef jerky bags, those are desiccants. They are in the package because moisture destroys the product and the manufacturer knows the desiccant will silently absorb that moisture before it causes damage. What we are doing today is scaling that same principle up to room level using materials you can buy for almost nothing. There are 3 desiccant materials worth knowing about for a home setup. Each one has a different performance profile and the right choice depends on your situation. The first is calcium chloride. This is the most powerful of the 3. Calcium chloride is a salt compound that does not just absorb moisture, it aggressively pulls it out of the air. It can absorb several times its own weight in water, and it works in large spaces effectively. It is sold in hardware stores as a road de-icing salt and in bigger bags at landscaping supply stores. A 2-pound bag costs between $3 and $5. The main thing to understand about calcium chloride is that as it absorbs moisture, it eventually dissolves into a liquid brine. This means your setup needs to account for liquid collection, and you will need to replenish the calcium chloride periodically. But in a damp basement or a bathroom with persistent humidity, nothing in this price range comes close to its performance. The second is rock salt, which is unrefined sodium chloride. Rock salt is slower and less aggressive than calcium chloride, but it is extremely cheap, completely non-toxic, and effective for smaller or moderately humid spaces like closets, wardrobes, pantries, and storage rooms. It is widely available and a large bag costs $2 to $3. Rock salt also eventually dissolves as it absorbs moisture, so the same double container setup applies. The third is silica gel. This is the material inside those little packets. Silica gel absorbs up to 40% of its own weight in water, which sounds modest compared to calcium chloride, but it has one massive advantage. It is completely rechargeable. When silica gel becomes saturated with moisture, you simply bake it in an oven at around 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 to 2 hours, and it releases all the moisture it collected and returns to full absorbing capacity. You can then reuse it indefinitely. The same bag of silica gel beads can serve you for years with nothing more than occasional oven time. This is where the forever in the title comes from. Silica gel, properly cycled, is a truly permanent moisture control solution with zero ongoing material cost after the first purchase. Now let us build the actual setup. We are going to cover both the calcium chloride and silica gel versions because each serves a different purpose in the home. For the calcium chloride setup, which is your heavy-duty option for larger or severely damp spaces, you need 2 5-gallon buckets, a drill, and your calcium chloride. Drill a grid of holes across the sides and bottom of the first bucket. These holes allow humid air to flow in and reach the desiccant. Nest that drilled bucket inside the second solid bucket. Fill the upper drilled bucket with 2 to 3 inches of calcium chloride crystals. That is the entire build. Humid air flows through the holes, contacts the calcium chloride, moisture is stripped out, and the liquid brine that forms drips down through the holes into the lower solid bucket where it collects. Check the lower bucket every week or 2 and pour the collected liquid down the drain. Refill the upper bucket with fresh calcium chloride as the previous batch dissolves. 1 large bag of calcium chloride will last 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how humid your space is. For the silica gel setup, which is your long-term rechargeable option for closets, wardrobes, bathrooms, and enclosed spaces, the build is even simpler. Take any container with a lid, a plastic food container, a coffee tin, a wide-mouthed jar, and drill or punch a series of holes in the lid. Fill the container with silica gel beads. Replace the lid. Set it in the space you want to dehumidify. The holes in the lid let humid air in. The silica gel absorbs the moisture, and the container keeps the beads contained. When the beads are saturated, which you can tell if you are using the color indicating variety because they shift from blue or orange to a different color, simply spread them on a baking sheet and bake them in the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for about 90 minutes. Let them cool completely before returning them to the container. Full absorption capacity restored, total cost of recharging, 0. If you are watching this and you want a weekly supply of forgotten tricks like this one, tricks that save money, reduce dependency, and actually work, subscribe to this channel right now and ring that bell. Every week we bring back something the modern world quietly phased out that your grandparents would have known in their sleep. You are going to want to be here. Now let us talk placement, because placement is the difference between a setup that works and one that sits in a corner doing almost nothing. Desiccants work by contact with humid air. The more airflow they get, the faster and more effectively they work. Do not tuck your container into a sealed corner with no circulation. Place it in an open, central area of the space or near where humid air enters. In a closet, hang a breathable mesh bag of silica gel near the back where airflow is lowest and humidity tends to concentrate. In a basement, position the calcium chloride bucket setup near the floor, since cold air is denser and moisture collects lower. In a bathroom, place the container away from direct water splash, but where the post-shower humid air can circulate past it freely. For very damp basements or below-grade rooms, consider running 2 or 3 calcium chloride setups simultaneously and staggering your refill schedule, so you are never without active desiccant working in the space. One important note on calcium chloride specifically: it is corrosive. Do not set it up near stored metal items, tools, or anything that can rust. The brine it produces can corrode metal surfaces over time if spills are not managed. Keep the lower collection bucket sealed except when emptying it, and wipe up any drips with a damp cloth. For wood storage areas, calcium chloride is fine. For metal storage, use rock salt or silica gel instead. Let us also talk about charcoal, because it comes up in every conversation about DIY dehumidifiers, and it is worth addressing honestly. Activated charcoal does absorb some moisture, and it is excellent at absorbing odors, but its moisture absorption capacity is significantly lower than calcium chloride, rock salt, or silica gel. If odor removal is part of your problem alongside humidity, combine charcoal with one of the other desiccants. Put a layer of activated charcoal in the bottom of your container and silica gel on top. You get moisture control from the silica gel and odor control from the charcoal in a single setup. For spaces like a gun safe, an instrument case, a camera bag, or a storage box for important documents, the silica gel rechargeable setup is the right tool entirely. Small, contained, reusable, and safe around everything. A standard household dehumidifier uses between 280 and 750 watts of electricity and runs for hours daily in humid seasons. At average electricity rates, that adds up to $20 to $50 a month in power costs alone. Plus, the machine itself costs $60 to $200 to buy. The desiccant setup presented here costs $4 upfront for materials and runs on 0 watts of electricity forever. The trade-off is that desiccants work more slowly and are best suited to enclosed or semi-enclosed spaces rather than large, open areas. For whole house humidity control, a powered unit remains the practical choice. But for targeted moisture management in specific problem zones, and that is where most household humidity issues actually live, this $4 setup does the job completely. That is the ancient desiccant trick. $4, no electricity, no ongoing cost, and it works in every single space moisture tries to take over. Set it up this week and watch the mustiness disappear. The next video is already waiting for you. Go watch it now.